And welcome to this very special edition of Brighton Lights.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you're watching Latest TV.
In this week's edition, we're going to be celebrating science right here in this digital city. Brighton has Café Scientifique, it has the Innovation Centre, and not forgetting, of course, its very own science festival, the Brighton Science Festival. Some people wear their hearts on their sleeves, and some people wear brains on their heads. Yeah, we sent Angie Mariani and Jenny Davidson to find out what was going on.
how long exactly is a second?
Well, I think it's about 9,192,631,770 cesium vibrations.
Can you get it more precise than that?
Not off the top of my head.
Actually, it's 9,192,631,777 cesium vibrations.
Boffin. Who is Alfred Wegener?
Is he the one who discovered continental drift and to the pop?
Spot on. Well done. What's gravity?
Gravity is possibly the effect of the warping of space-time, but we don't know exactly what gravity is. No one really knows.
Do you have a theory of everything?
I don't, but I kind of prefer it that way, in all honesty. I think if I had a theory of everything, I'd probably be disappointed when it was disproved.
Thank you very much, and great scientist hair, by the way.
Thank you very much, thank you.
The bubble is being constrained by films pulling it towards the edges. If we break these constraints, when the bubble is free, it has to be spherical.
Can you put your hands together in a kind of rapturous, kind of crazy rock star way for Dr. Michael Ross?
Now, I'm going to start by telling you a story about a man called Werner Forssmann. Werner Forssmann, in 1929, saw a picture of a veterinary procedure where a horse was being having its heart catheterized, a tube sent through the veins to the heart. It was through the jugular artery to the horse's heart. And he was a young doctor at this time in a town called Eberswald in Germany. And he saw this drawing and he thought, I wonder if you could do that to human beings. And his boss said, it's just far too dangerous. And Forssmann said, I'll do it on myself. And his boss said, no, you won't. And now the surgical equipment at the hospital was actually locked away every night. So Forssmann set about finding out who had the key. And the key, he found, was held by chief nurse Gerda Ditzen. And so basically Forssmann started romancing Gerda Ditzen. And Gerda Ditzen got to the point where she said, do it on me. And he said, all right then. He applied a little bit of iodine to her arm where he was going to insert the rubber tube. And then he said, I've just got to go off and get some stuff ready, I'll be right back. What he did actually was leave her there, go off into the next room, and take all the equipment with him, and catheterized his own heart.
Do you think science is becoming a lot more popular, the new rock and roll, if you like?
I think there's certainly evidence for that. You know, we're looking at seeing more and more on TV. There's more and more young people kind of getting the bug for science a little bit more, which is great after all these years of it being kind of the dowdy uncle that you wouldn't want to be sitting next to at the dinner party. So I think I think something is happening that's making science a little bit more cool than it was.
And are you on a mission to propel that even more?
I would love to propel that even more. One of the things that I really want to get involved in is getting young people excited about a career in science as not just a kind of last-ditch option when nothing else works, but actually this is what they want to do. Get them excited about the process of discovery, the process of understanding, getting to understand what the universe is about. You know, it can make you really passionate. When you talk to working scientists about what they do, you know, they're incredibly passionate and enthusiastic about this, and I just don't think that comes across enough.
Your talk was extremely funny. Do you think science and comedy are really good bedfellows?
Yeah, they are. There's something about the way scientists think and the way science works. Comedy is a very intelligent thing, and it's about poking holes in things and knowing where those holes are. And I think science goes well with that. You know, I think it's very important because you can find the holes in every bit of thinking that you want to.
I loved hearing about all the egos in science, and I have recently read about all the egos in genetics, for instance, from Craig Venter to Francis Collins, different kind of ego, and to James Watson. And it really adds to the stories of science, which I think you showed really well in your talk.
I think it's really important that people hear those stories as well. You know, when James Watson wrote his autobiography about discovering DNA, all his colleagues criticised him because he'd put it in warts and all. You know, it was all the things they did wrong, all the ways it went wrong, all the sort of backbiting and bitching that went on between them, the arguments when they fell out. And actually that's what's really interesting, and that's what motivates people to kind of find out what this is all about. You know, this is a very human endeavour.
And people are now finding out more about the arguments with, for instance, Isaac Newton and Robert Hooke as well.
Yeah, Newton is coming out as this kind of really quite dark figure who, when he was Master of the Royal Mint, you know, used every means that he could to hang people on the flimsiest evidence. And when he wrote his science up, he wrote it up in code, and then boasted to his competitors that he knew the answer and they didn't. And quite an unpleasant character in so many ways. You wouldn't want him running the Royal Society for sure.
I thought he had a lovable side as well as paranoia.
Well, I think there was a lovable side, and there's certainly an incredible intelligence, you know, a mind like we may never have seen since. But I think it's the dark side that's starting to come out more recently.
Who's your favourite scientist of all time, would you say?
I think it's Richard Feynman. It's a bit of a cliche in a sense, but he was a man who wasn't interested in position. You know, he resigned his position from the National Academy of Sciences in the US because he just said, oh, this is just about, you know, who's better than who. I'm not interested in that. And when you watch his explanations, you can watch them on YouTube. His explanations of ordinary, everyday phenomena, they're just spellbinding. And so he was doing science well enough to win himself a Nobel Prize. He was communicating it like nobody else has ever managed to. And also was just this really engaging person that people liked. You know, we could do with another Richard Feynman, I think.
Thank you very much, Michael Brooks. That's excellent. Thank you. Fantastic, isn't it? I'm with Inga Sweetman, the owner of City Books. How many science books do you think you'd sell?
Well, popular science has really developed over the years. So probably in the last 15 years, the popular science books have really increased. So it's not just academic textbooks now. People want to learn about all sorts of subjects, all quirky things and things like that.
And do you find adults are reading children's books on science because perhaps they missed out on science first time round?
Yeah, oh, definitely, and that works both ways. I think science crosses the age barrier brilliantly. Certainly when computers first started, it must be about sort of 30 odd years ago, the adults were buying the children's books, and it wasn't long before the children's were buying the adult books because they were learning so much quicker than we were as adults.
If I had £1 for every time this year I've heard somebody slag off Professor Brian Cox for not being a proper scientist, I could probably buy him quite a nice dinner. Obviously I wouldn't sell it to him, that would be good. Guess how I paid for this, Brian.
I'm with Mark Stevenson, who's written An Optimist's Tour of the Future. Mark, what does an optimist tour of the future involve?
Well, basically, it's a tour of the scientific horizon for every man, really. So just as Freakonomics is about economics, but not read by economists, this is kind of a book about what's happening in science that doesn't have to be read by scientists, I guess.
There has really been an explosion in the last couple of years in people becoming more interested in science.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is because we face some really grand challenges now in what's happening to the world, and when things are going okay, you make sense of the world in different ways, and sometimes you might make recourse to religion or spiritualism or Jerry Springer or whatever it is, for your way to understand the world. When stuff really starts to get dangerous, as I think it is getting now, we tend to look at the tools we've got in the bag and we kind of go, you know what, when it comes to climate change, I'm going to put the dream catcher back in the cupboard and I'll probably go and have a look and see what the scientists have to say about this. I think it's just a natural reaction to the problems we face. We're looking at the tool bag and going, well, science looks like one of the sharpest tools in the bag we've got, and there's a re-engagement with it, I think.
Right. We have a sort of cubical bubble there, satisfying all the geometrical properties.
Good morning, Mr. Robinson.
I'm with Richard Robinson, founder of the Brighton Science Festival. Is this the best ever year?
Yes, I think I can firmly say that. I'm sorry, I have to be very careful about this because there have been years that were wonderful. In many ways, the first year was wonderful because there it was. Not enough people came, but it was there anyway. This year's certainly the biggest, and it's got more involvement from organisations around the city.
You're a real prophet for science, aren't you? You want to share it with the world, really, young and old alike.
Everybody needs to know. But look, science is very young. Science is terribly young. 600 years ago, we were in the Stone Age, really. There's a huge amount of knowledge that needs to be pumped out there, and we've got the job of doing it. On the family fun days, it was fabulous to watch the parents and the children come in, because it is for both sides. And I remember seeing in the bridge building room, which is where you get 4 bits of paper, and you've got to build the strongest bridge you can balance as many Mars bars as possible. Well, I saw a dad come in with his 2 kids, and he looked around and he said, "Okay, kids, step aside." And he moved forward and he started making a bridge. And they had to watch for a little while, thinking, "But you're not an engineer, you're a dad." And they suddenly realised that it was okay, because he was doing it, it was safe, they did it. That's how we always learn things, by imitation. Our job is to make science seem so intriguing and so explosive sometimes that we'll get everybody in there, parents and kids.
There's so many fascinating stories in science, and that's a way of drawing people in as well, the history of science and the scientists.
Yeah, there's not enough of that is done, and I stand accused of that, because sometimes you can get so involved in the science of it that you don't start talking about the personalities. Bill Bryson wrote a very, very popular book on science called The Short History of Everything, I think it's called. And I gave it to my partner and asked her to read it, and she said, "This would be very good, because it's wonderful writing. I wish all science writers could write like this," I said. I loved it. And she read it for a bit, and then she said, "It's all people. It's hardly any science at all." She didn't notice any. He just pops in the science every now and then. It doesn't take very long. But you get so gripped by the people and what they're doing that the science is like part of the plot. You say, "Oh yes, I'll have that. Oh yes, I'll have that." And you just unwittingly drop the science into your pocket. And in no time at all, you know your science. But you've got a racing good story as well.
I love all the personalities and the feuds in science as well. We were hearing earlier Michael Brooks talking about Isaac Newton, for instance, and Robert Hooke as well.
Yes, I'm a Hookist myself. I think that Robert Hooke gave Isaac Newton all his ideas. Robert Hooke had hundreds. He had thousands a day, and he'd drop them around the place. Say, "Well, I think it must be inverse square," and he'd go on to something else after that. And Isaac Newton would say, "Inverse square, right? Okay." And he'd go away and he'd think for years about this, and he'd make it work. And he'd made it all fit together. Of course, Robert Hooke didn't know what he was talking about. He went off did something else. He was probably right, but he wouldn't have had the thoroughness. We actually needed both of those.
Any message you'd like to communicate about the communication of science?
Oh yes, keep it simple if you can. Keep it out there. Let people know and ask and say, "I don't understand," and try and explain better. You can only get better by practicing and possibly getting it wrong. The great understanding of science is it's a long process of getting it wrong. Who is it? Edison made many inventions, apparently, but he said, I never got anything wrong. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. WD-40, remember WD-40? Yes, lovely spray. Do you know why it called it WD-40? WD-39 was no good. They had to do it 40 times before they got it right.
I think you should be really proud of this festival. It's wonderful, and long may it continue.
Oh, you're very kind. Very kind. You must have seen it then. I didn't. I never have.
Too busy behind the scenes.
So.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Okay, here's a dodecahedral bubble trapped inside the dodecahedron.
All about the science of materials. Hey, what's up world? My name's Brad. I'm from the Observatory Science Center out at Hurst-Monceau. More, yes or no? Yeah! Oh my goodness. History is the past, science is the future. And the future happens right here at the Brighton Science Festival. This has been an amazing event, and if you're interested at all in any kind of science and you want to get more involved, the way to do it is to rock up here and check it out and find out about what's going on in your area, whether it's space, making stuff, dangerous stuff, mixing stuff up in chemistry, or geology, all kinds of stuff. But that's what's cool about science, is there's always something about it that you can learn more about. and help other people by just being a smarter kind of person, you know. I mean, it's knowledge is power, really. So we hope we see you next year at the Brighton Science Festival, and until then, my name's Brad, and we'll see you around. Yeah! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jenny, you're very nearly symmetrical.
Does that make me attractive to men?
I'm not sure. We might have to do some experiments.
Yeah, let's. I know. Why don't we wear heads?
Cool. How do we do that?
I don't know.
Right, well, that's all we've got time for this week on Brighton Lights. I'm looking forward to seeing you all next time. Goodbye.